Live. Live from the Verne.
All right. And Eric, quick question. I know they can email. Can they, is there a number they can phone in? If somebody wants to-
909-596-8706.
All right. Good morning, Jason, Marianne.
Morning.
All right. Well, we have a quorum, so we're going to go ahead and get started. This is an adjourned meeting of the Old Town Laverne Business District. And first item on the agenda, we have 3 sets of minutes. Do we have a motion or any adjustments on those corrections?
I
My motion accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Talking about the closure of D Street, Eric, you want to update us on what's happened since our meeting a week ago?
Well, really the major addition has been, we placed banners on the north and south side of the closure on the barricades, indicating that all businesses are open, outdoor dining is occurring, and also that where public parking can be found. We put some smaller signs at the driveway entrances at Lot E at the university, where public parking is allowed. To be honest, I haven't seen a parking problem downtown to where that parking lot's not really being utilized. But appreciate the university allowing us to have that parking available and accessible. And so that's really where we were at. There was some graffiti on the barricades Saturday morning, early Saturday morning, that thanks to the quick response of some of the merchants in Old Town, including Chris and our city employees, they got out there and got rid of it, most of it. And then they covered the rest with the banner. They repositioned the banners, and they'll be fixing that this morning.
And I think also since last week, we have two additional restaurants have added enclosures, Cafe Wong and House of Wings. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. And do you have any indication of any more that are interested in alcohol enclosure?
Chris could probably talk to this because I know he made the rounds last week to talk to most of the business owners. As you know, I sent out an email to the restaurants on Thursday looking for specific feedback for this morning's meeting. And unfortunately, I did not receive any feedback from those restaurants. So still hoping that we get some kind of response, and kind of there's been some talk of coordinating a person to wipe down tables between the restaurants. Chris, you want to maybe fill in the rest of the group with your talk?
Yeah. Thursday night I went out and met with Arson at House of Wings, and he was totally in favor of it. Saw a pop to his business and really believed it was a great thing to do that the city's done, and it's encouraging them to keep it throughout the summer. He is expanding Argo. Do the same kind of thing, eat out there, but they can share his spot as well. Walked across the street and talked to the daughter, Cafe Wang, and they are finally getting on board with the idea that dining outside is a good thing. And so they went ahead and got the $100 applied to the ABC in their expansion, and they're going to go for it. The next morning I had breakfast at Village Grill, and of course they're very excited about it, and it was full. The patio was fairly full out there in the street. Then I walked over and talked to Kenny, and Kenny is very pro leaving the street closed. He is very excited for the downtown business to do it. He is feeling that he's very much not wanting to comply with the health department rules of a COVID manager cleaning his patio regularly when someone gets up from having pizza. So he's not opening his patio. He also let us know that his business is at 85 to 90% of normal with takeout. He's losing 15 to 10% in beer sales at the bar that he was getting, but people have responded to warehouse like they always have, and they're buying pizzas right and left. He feels no need to go out into the street nor open his patio, but is very supportive of it. And in the week that it had been, about a week since it had opened, he noticed no noticeable drop off of pizza buying from people not being able to pull up in front of his place. I asked him that specifically. Had a brief conversation with the manager at the donut shop. They're very happy about it. You know, someone wants to sit and have it at the picnic table the city put out. And then, of course, Lordsburg is thrilled and whatnot. But the overwhelming consensus is very positive, and let's keep it going. And they're all asking questions. When's it going to come down? They don't know. And I wasn't able to tell them anything other than we know this meeting was occurring. And then the 21st is when the county said 3 weeks would be up. And I say, stay in tune. I also ask them, why don't they participate in these meetings? And the answer I get back is always funny to me, that they didn't know the meeting existed, and they don't have access, and whatever. I try to encourage them to contact us directly or get on the email list so that they know, but you know, one ear and the other.
Good morning, Tim. See you hiding in there.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning. Eric, as I understand it, any restaurant that has an enclosure, has the EBC permit, and are serving food inside their enclosure, they are required to sanitize tables after each customer. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then there's been some concern about the picnic tables that the city put out initially, which aren't assigned to any specific business, just anybody could just walk up and sit down. So you want to talk a little bit about the potential concern with that?
Well, so we have had to have staff out there from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on the weekends to make sure we're wiping down those picnic tables after use. The problem is you have to have somebody there pretty much the entire time. And so we're doing the best that we can, but there's Chris mentioned, there was some discussion about having maybe somebody kind of in charge of a one person that would go down wiping down all of the tables, including assisting the restaurants with their own enclosures, so they had a second person to help wipe down, and that the restaurants in downtown might be able to chip in to help pay for that person, or maybe even more easily, each restaurant would take a day or a half a day to assign a staff person to be that person to wipe down. That was in my email that I sent out to all the restaurants to see what kind of thoughts there were on that. And again, I didn't get any response. So really probably a matter of having to go down there and knock on doors and talk to the owners directly and try to get something happening with that.
The times that I've driven by or walked down there, I don't know that I've seen anybody at those unassigned tables. Everybody seems to be in the enclosures. Does anybody else have a different experience?
Yeah, there's definitely people. Well, in front of my store, there's definitely people, not during the heat of the day, obviously, but there are people at the picnic tables in front of my store once it cools off, or once the shade is over that way.
Are they overflow from Lordsburg?
I think it's mostly pizza, it seems to be. Although the other morning I came in and there was all kinds of to-go drink cups on one table and a glass on one table that was left all night. I went out there and picked it up, but so you know, we leave at 6:30, so I don't know after that.
You know, I think the idea of universally asking the businesses to participate is a good one, but I've also thought about it all weekend long, in that maybe if the public tables went away, there wouldn't be anyone responsible for cleaning those tables, and you only allowed the restaurants that have applied to eat out there to take advantage of their own. I like the picnic table idea, but you're going to have to organize somebody to clean them. Otherwise, we're paying city staff. And I know when we were there taking care of the graffiti, the city staff guy, we were laughing. He goes, I don't know how they snuck in and tagged this thing when I was on duty here cleaning tables. And I reassured him it was there all day. It happened in the middle of the night. But I don't know if we can afford to pay somebody, the Divot or the city, to be cleaning the picnic tables. So I would think that that's got to go on to the business owners who are taking advantage of the being out in the street.
So let's go back to the basic question. A week ago, we decided to hold off a week to see what happened, how it might affect the non-participating businesses, in particular retail. Mickey, do you want to talk to that?
Sure. I went around, I think it was on Tuesday or Wednesday, just to talk to everybody and see what their thoughts were. Of course, the restaurants are all thrilled. At that point, Cafe Wong was saying maybe we could just do it on the weekends and not all week, which obviously we know we can't do that. So they were the only ones that were a little bit like, I don't know. But since then, obviously, Chris went later and talked to him. A Place and Time said it was definitely affecting their business. The smoke shop, definitely affecting his business. Roots said they didn't care either way. They thought it was great, but they didn't see that it was helping or hurting their business, so they didn't care. Seagal was not there, so I couldn't talk to him. So I think that's all the businesses. For us, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, we seem to be pretty steady, but it's like in the middle of the day from like 2 to 4, or maybe even 1 to 4, where there's maybe 2 people out there or 2 tables and the whole street is empty. You kind of think, well, normally our whole street is full of cars. But, I know it's great for the restaurants. People love it. We haven't heard any negative comments. So, summer is a little bit slower for us. So, but we're about even. So I can't say that it's hurting us or helping us. So that's where we're at.
Well, but as far as the parking, if you look behind all these buildings, because we're back here, they're not full back here. From 2 to 4, we're empty. So if they need a place to park, they can park right back behind us, because we're not getting the crowds like we used to. Because I go out there, I'm here all day, and that parking lot behind us is not full at all. And it hasn't been full since this started. So I think it might be that maybe people just aren't coming out between 2 and 4 to anything. They're not going anywhere because people aren't going out as much as they used to. So
plus it's so hot too.
105. It was 105 yesterday. Crazy.
So I feel like even though the street closure is closed, there is ample parking behind here for them to still come and go to the retail stores. And that's where they used to park. If it was full in the front, they went to the back. So they're just not coming down. I don't think they're coming down during that time of day, because it's quiet as a mouse here.
And even, the worst case scenario is somebody has to walk about a half a block to park, and there was certainly no guarantee you'd be able to park right in front of the business you were visiting before, at certain times. Eric, one thought I had was, I've heard concern about people who have a lot of, drop in, like to pick up an order or just a quick drop in and out. What do you think about the possibility of designating some of those spaces on 3rd Street adjacent to D, like in front of the Oki and Seagal, making those like 15-minute drop off or zones or something like that to keep some spaces real close that would be open?
It's a possibility. I mean, obviously, I think the time, we'll have to check with Public Works. It might even require a council action, but we might be able to squeeze it on the next meeting if that's something that the board is interested in exploring.
We're going into a week.
Who would check that parking? Who would check that? Because we don't even have parking people that check the parking now. I used to always see the guy checking, but anymore, there's nobody that checks parking.
They are back on duty. The parking enforcement at the beginning of COVID, they were released because that's an outside contractor that does that. And since we suspended all overnight parking requirements, we didn't have a reason to keep them on staff or keep them working. But now that overnight restrictions are back in place, they're brought back in as well. So we do have staff. You just don't see them as much, primarily because D Street's closed.
No, I know, but wait, I mean, for months they haven't been downtown.
Right, they only recently came back on.
Okay.
And what, the last 2 weeks, Eric, I think maybe the last 2 weeks that they started to enforce again, because we were having some major issues with people parking RV vehicles and stuff like that. But they're pretty much in full force again, I think.
It's supposed to be a cooler week. You know, I really think it's hard to judge this last week with it just being, you know, blasting hot in the majority of the time. I mean, I cringe at La Paloma, what they did out there and putting that desert net up and that whole parking lot, and there's no breeze, and they're sitting out there eating 100-degree weather. It's miserable. I don't think it's a way to judge when it's super hot, but it's going to be cooler this week by 10 degrees. But you know, we're in summer, so I'm pretty sure it's going to get hot again. And but a majority of the businesses down there that are restaurants, especially Village Inn, and we counted, by the way, we went out on the sidewalk and said, what if we were to spread you out in front of the realty and in front of the cleaners and put, you know, tables on the sidewalk like Cafe Allegro does and open the street back up? They lose 24 seats. And 24 seats to a restaurant like that with no dine-in is significant. And they ran a wait on Saturday and Sunday morning. So when you're running a wait and someone says, oh, take 24 seats away, that's a huge hit to their business. So Pancho and Roberta are very much in favor of extending the street closure as long as possible, and even beyond the 3 weeks. It's helping them because people are kind of getting a kick out of it. Now, again, they're on the shady side in the morning, which is the bulk of their business. And
Right.
very little in the afternoon when they're in the sun. But it's been a very good example of how, you know, creativity of a business can keep its doors open, and they're doing well. So they're very much in favor of it, but they know they're beholden to all, you know, the group's decision. So kind of a big decision we guys got to make.
So to try
Well,
to.
I
Go
took
ahead, Neil.
I took a drive around town, and my personal opinion, I think we should leave it open even when dine-in comes back, because it's going to allow the restaurants for at least the summer months to bring in more people. So even when they go back into the dining rooms, you guys are so limited in what you can do that the outside seating is going to help keep the businesses have a little bit more service. You can service a few more. And when you drive around town, you go into like up by Vaughn's in there, and those businesses have not had the option yet to get out to the parking lots, and they need some help up there too. I think it's a good idea, and everybody will be open to it for a while. And I think if we were allowed to keep it until we're sure when they can go back to something semi-work.
If I could chime in with Mary Ann, if you guys don't mind, I did take a drive around this weekend. I mean, Chase's and 4th Street Mill and House of Wings and Lordsburg. And it was probably around 5 o'clock-ish, which is the perfect time. And it's just, I'm going to chime in with what Chris said and everybody said. It's been doing very well. And I did talk to Mickey, and I've talked to a number of the merchants and stuff. And it's just a blessing because as Chris stated, this COVID thing is morphing every day, and we don't really know where it's going to go. But I think the closure of downtown D Street just gives just a boost for these businesses to be able to survive and do actually well. You know, like look at Kenny. He has no desire, like Chris said, to open up again. He's fine right now. He's pumping pizzas out like they're crazy, like out of a machine. The only thing that I will say with Marianne, what she said was, and I'll talk to Eric offline on this one, very concerned, and also Bob Russi, about the Foothill Corridor restaurants. La Paloma did, and as Chris said, they do have a misting thing. But, you know, you're talking about pizza and stuff. You're talking about Siamese. You're talking about
Waffles.
Yeah, waffles. You're talking about the new Mongolian barbecue. You're talking about, you know, the pizza place, the one that took over that huge restaurant up there. I'm talking about the
Sure.
Broken Yoke. I'm not seeing it. And it's like, we need to make sure that, I think in a Cafe Wong, until just recently, I talked to them multiple times to say, guys, you utilize this. It's given to you. You know, utilize this outdoor dining. But I think these other ones, we need some help from, and that'll be offline, but to get all the other restaurants too, to be able to utilize their leasing agents or whoever the property owners to get them out on the curbs, to get them at least close some stuff down so they can function also, you know, so.
Right. Yeah, I
I
noticed.
just think it's all doing it for a while, people will get used to it. And
Yes.
it takes a while to realize that they can come do all this stuff. But I think if we just leave it open until we figure out what's going to happen, the residents will get used to it being there, and then they'll come out even more.
Well, and here's two, Pasadena, the city of Pasadena. I was on a call with Barger. So believe me, we do talk about this with Catherine Barger and the supervisor. Pasadena's closing down sections of Colorado Boulevard to dining. I mean, we're talking big time here. And that's, you know, Pasadena's a pretty big thoroughfare. And, you know, this is, people love it. This is a European style dining now. I mean, we've transitioned, you know, but I would really love to see it stay until we, you know, at least until we get over the hump here and figure out what's going on. Cause I don't want to go back and then close it again and then go back and close it. You know, it's just, this seesaw is just ridiculous. Restaurants can't survive and businesses either. It's too difficult.
Well, there's two things I'd like to say. I really believe that the 3 weeks is going to extend. All right. The reason is if you use the R number that they're using on their factor to determine how bad the virus is, that R number is shooting through the roof. And I think they might extend not the dine-in for longer, number one. Number two, I'm talking to customers in 100-degree heat, and they said, I don't care, I wouldn't dine inside a restaurant right now anyway, because they're so fearful of wanting that airflow. And the word on the street is, if you go into a closed environment, you're more likely to get COVID because it lingers in the air. So their restaurants are going to open up when they do allow dine-in, and they're going to suffer still because people just are afraid to go in them. So leaving it open for a majority of restaurants that can have outdoor dining is the way to go, I believe, as well.
So just to try to pull it back around, I'm not hearing any objection to continuing it. The question is when to reevaluate. I think we can probably wait till our August meeting to look at it again. Personally, I think something needs to be decided on the open tables. My personal preference at this point is probably that we not put tables out that aren't connected to a business that's responsible for them. I'm not sure that the city needs to be taking on the responsibility of cleaning those tables for us. But you know, in times walking down there, I was very pleased to see, you know, after people got up, here's a guy with a spray bottle and wiping down tables. So the restaurants seem to be following those guidelines. But is there anybody that would object to just continuing status quo until at least August, our next meeting?
No.
All right. Eric, I don't know that we need a motion, do we, or would that help you?
No, I don't think I need a motion for keeping it closed, but if there is some direction on removing the picnic tables and or exploring the idea of doing some 15-minute parking spaces on the north side of 3rd Street at D, I would take that direction through a motion.
I think we should definitely think about removing the tables that, because it's ridiculous that the city is, you know, has somebody out there. I mean, it's great. Thank you so much. But I don't think we need to have those tables.
But if I could just throw in something there, obviously I'm not a Divot member, but I did talk to Jeff over at 4th Street, and he's using the tables underneath the trees, and he was more than willing, I think Eric and he discussed it, more than willing to clean his own tables. I just don't want to take an opportunity away from people that maybe just want to lounge around and have a donut or something, or have something that's not tied to a restaurant. That's the only thing that I look at as a customer. But, you know, again, it's the Divots decision. It's just, I think the city is more than willing to do that for a while obviously it is a hit on our budget, but I won't speak for the city, but I mean, obviously they're doing it now. I'm just concerned if we start changing too many things right now, it might change the dynamics. That's all.
You know,
Well, and, I would love a table in front of my store, and I would be willing to go out and wipe that table down. But I mean, after I leave at 6,
Yeah.
I'm not going to hang around and wipe the tables down. So
Sure.
it's not that I'm opposed to it. I just think, well, the DIB probably can't afford it. Can the city afford it? So that was
so we do have several picnic benches or benches along the sidewalks, and people can, we see people using those anyway. One of the things that I think about is we were discussing other restaurants around town. I don't know that the city really wants to be seen as just favoring Old Town. We're in an ideal situation. We've got a street that's easy to close, and with some, significant restaurants adjacent. But if the city's stepping up and cleaning tables, it seems like it just opens a can of worms, and I don't see it as a huge thing. All the businesses like Kenny and any of the others, that especially the ones that serve alcohol, could designate a space, serve out there, even if they don't serve alcohol, and take care of their tables. That's just my thought on that.
I agree with Craig, because listening to Mickey, the other issue isn't just cleaning the tables, it's the people that are leaving trash on the public tables.
Yeah.
You've got that too, and that's going to start making that area not look so nice. So if the restaurants themselves are responsible, they'll keep their areas clean, which I think would help out. And I think the city we can't make the city monitor our tables and then go up to Foothill and try to monitor those tables. I think if we just let the restaurants take charge of it, it'll be fine.
And they're the ones that benefit. As far as the parking, if, I could see like Smoke Shop, maybe they would benefit from it. I don't know, Mickey, your customers probably spend more time and aren't as concerned about, being able to park right in front, but I don't know, maybe it could benefit you by having some short-term parking close by. I think
we're trying to tell all of our customers to park in our parking lot behind our store. Obviously, if somebody's driving by and doesn't even know the street's closed, they're not going to know that. But I don't know, is that fair to the person that, we're taking their parking spot away then? Because
what about building? That got painted red. They took out 2 spots right there because of the bike lane, but now the bike lane, they can't turn right. So why don't we do 2 spots up here? For temporary.
What, in front
right in front of us is now, we used to have 2 spots there that were regular parking. They took those out. Yeah, on Bonita, right in front of us. There's, it butts up against the lot right there where Miss Donuts is, to the parking lot at the edge here. And that fits 2 spots. So since we don't have spots there anyway now, that could be a spot where we could do temporary 15-minute parking.
That's a great idea.
Donut shop above it.
You want to look into that, Eric?
Yeah, I think the problem is that those spaces were taken away because of the bike lane. So we really
but I don't think we're getting the bikers down here right now. So it would just be the summer.
Damn bikes.
I think that once we mark it red, excuse me, we really can't allow temporary parking there blocking a bike lane. So
okay.
Well, why don't we continue to monitor? I think having different people, Chris and Mickey, walking around down there, I've spent some time, and let's just continue to take the temperature on that. And if it looks like it's a problem, we can request something different. But in the worst case, even if you park in the lot next to the university library, it's not a big putting yourself out to do that. So I like the signs, Eric. Thank you for getting those up right away. I think that helps.
Big help. Big help.
So
I have one question about the signs, Eric, and this is just the one on 3rd Street. The cones and something else almost cover up the parking, like where the parking is, just a little bit of it. I don't know if we could move that sign to the right just a little bit so it's a little bit more visible. And then also when Bob was in my store, he said that he was thinking about getting trees and, of course they didn't want to do it right away because we didn't know how it would work. But is that still something if we're going to stay closed until possibly August 1st or even possibly longer than that? Can we get some trees in there and spruce it up a little bit?
Yes. So I noticed the same thing with the banners. So I'll talk to Public Works about trying to reposition those to where it's more visible so the road closure sign doesn't block them. Also, yes, if this is long term, I mean, August 1st is really only about 2 weeks from now. So whether that's enough time, I'm with Chris, though. I don't think that on the 21st that there's going to be all of a sudden the state's going to allow indoor dining, and even some discussion here today about extending this even when indoor dining is allowed. It sounds like we're probably looking at further than August 1st. So we will look at getting some potted trees in the area. We've already talked to our landscape vendors to see about having those on loan. So we will look further into that, and it's very likely you will see some of those improvements being made in the next week or so.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
everybody I've talked to, Eric and Tim, greatly appreciates what the city is doing and, taking the initiative. So please make sure that gets passed on to Public Works and everybody else that's been involved in this. It's been a big help.
I witnessed personally Lordsburg, as well as Village Inn, COVID wiping down their tables.
Mm-hmm.
They have a designated person with a mask and a face guard on and their alcohol bottle, like we're all told to do, and they're wiping them down. I don't think it would be an issue if they collectively came together, directed by you, Eric, at the city, and said, hey, can you keep an eye on the rest of these tables as well? I mean, I just think it's beneficial to them who's, the business is there. They can share that responsibility. I know the gentleman who was on duty when we were helping clean the graffiti off, he made a comment about it. He's on a bunch of OT, doing it because he's been there assigned by the city to keep an eye on these tables, which rightfully so, but there's not that many more that they couldn't all share that responsibility since they're benefiting in the street. I think that's the best approach to solve that problem.
And one table that I think could possibly be moved that would help the donut shop is the table that's out in the street. If you put it under their eave, because it's sunny there from morning until 5 o'clock. And, the table in front of my store gets a little bit of shade from that tree. But if you just move that picnic table up on the sidewalk, kind of close to that wall, I think that more people would use it because it's in the shade.
Well,
Just a thought.
I think the donut shop has several tables inside, right? That there's no reason that they couldn't place those tables outside in the shade, wherever that they wanted to. And then that way they're responsible for wiping down their own tables, for bringing them in the evening or when they're closed. And that way it's out of our hands. Because I think, Chris, with your idea is that in theory, I would hope that would work. But to ensure that after somebody sits at every table, that somebody's out there with a staff member wiping it down when there's no clear responsibility, is going to be difficult to ensure.
Okay.
What about the table that's down by the fountain? I see people sitting there all the time. Is somebody responsible for wiping that table down?
So same with all of our parks where we have existing picnic benches, right? Unfortunately, it's just not a task that we can do. So we assume that people realize that it's their responsibility for making sure that they're in a clean situation, that they wipe down with sanitizer before and after they sit down or whatever the case. But
the difference is these were placed specifically for people, with the intent that people would sit there and eat. And
right.
I just feel like the businesses who are benefiting need to take responsibility. Otherwise, we can't expect the city to do that.
I mean, and the rule is pretty clear. When someone steps up away from the table after they're finished, they have to immediately be cleaned with alcohol, 60% more solution. I mean, the regulation is very static. So I'm not convinced that even if you had a one person from the city there, that you would be getting that service anyway. Whereas somebody who's out there with Lordsburg and Village Inn, they're like on it right away. They see someone sitting there, as soon as they sit up, boom. And that's what we're trained at Chase's to do. We're training the staff. So it just seems like they're there with the proper equipment to do it, but it's up to you guys. I just.
But do we need them? With now that we have more restaurants, and I saw Village Inn expanded their space, do we need random tables?
Maybe not. I don't know. It's the solution. If you want to clean them, yeah, get rid of the tables. But that's a tougher call.
And ultimately, it's up to the city to decide if they want to pay somebody, but I don't think we should be asking them to take on that responsibility. So anything else to discuss about this? Or there were other items that were carried over on the agenda, if anything. Did you hear anything back, Eric, from Craig on the car show?
Him and I did touch base, and I just told him that what the plan was with us preparing to go to the city council on the 20th with the pre-closure in the event that the state and the county release the rules by the August 3rd meeting. So that way there could be a decision to continue to have the car show. He basically agreed with that process and didn't really have any other information to share.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other comments, questions?
I just had a real quick one. I just want to thank all of you for everybody working together as a team, because, you know, we're all in this together, and this is very trying times when, especially when the county and the state keep, you know, changing the rules. And I appreciate everybody, what they're doing. Eric, your staff has been stellar. You know, you jumped to it. So I think it's basically going to save our bacon is what it's going to do. And I think we need to all work together. And that's also with the Foothill Corridor. But I want to thank everybody for joining each other. And I'm watching it closely. It's a big one for me being a business owner, and Chris and Mickey and Mary Ann, the wine shop, Craig, everybody here. Just, we got to stick together and get through this thing, because it's going to last for a while. I hate to say it. I agree with Chris. This isn't going away in another week or two. So, but thank you all. It's been, and anything you need from us, it's, you know, the line of communication is open, and it seems to be working well. So thank you all.
Very good. Jason,
Eric,
if I could,
wanted to ask.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just asking Jason, is there anything coming up that would impact continuing to use the parking lot?
Not that I foresee. We're still waiting on county and state guidelines for reopening. We've already proceeded forward with the assumption of what's going to happen, what's going to occur, worst case. But you know, the recent numbers that we're seeing with COVID cases, it's not proving up to be, you know, that there's going to be good news at the end of this. We're just afraid everything's going to go remote, or we're going to be all back in lockdown if this doesn't get under control. So we're prepping for the students to return, but we still don't have the go-ahead to do it from the state or the county.
Right.
Jason, thank you also for the parking lot. You guys are being very generous with that. Please let Devora know that we really do appreciate it. It really helps us out tremendously. So thanks.
Mary Ann, did you?
Yeah, I wanted to let everyone know that Mickey, people that are down on the closure, if you ever have like something you want to advertise and you can't get down there, you are more than welcome to put signs in front of the building, because I talked to John and Leanne Paddock and they're all over it too. So whatever we can do from here, when people are driving by, you are more than welcome to advertise in front of the building.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, like I said, we're doing pretty good. It's just Frank and the A Place in Time that really said it's hurting them a lot. So, but I did have a question, and I think Eric, you put this out in the email about making sure the easy ups were tied down or weighted down. A customer brought that up to me, and I do have some concern about that, because I have, you know, those huge windows. If a big gust of wind comes up, you know, any car show that we have or anything, it's, you know, mandated that the easy ups are tied down. So we don't want anybody to get hurt. So anyways, I don't know what's going on with that. I have actually you know, I was closed yesterday, obviously, and we're closed today, but I might go down there. Have you heard anything about that?
I saw
didn't
some uneasy ups on down at House of Wings. I didn't look at that across the board. There are probably some that don't have weights on them. But
Yeah, there are.
I plan on making a trip down there. Like I said, I want to check in with the restaurant owners anyways about some of the other things that we talked about. But that's one of the specific ones that we need them to do per the fire department to make sure all of them are secured. So they will need
Perfect.
to be on that.
I know Mike was over at Lordsburg. He said he was last week. He says I filled up I don't know how many bags of sand and weight down my easy up. So they're aware of it, but obviously it is a very big concern. They do fly.
Okay, any other comments, questions? If not, then we will adjourn, and our next meeting is, what is it, August 3rd?
Correct.
And then Tim, I'm sure you've heard, we requested that City Council go ahead and provisionally approve the closures for the car show, if that is even possible, but at least we have the ability to move forward if it is going to be able to happen.
Yeah, we were aware of it. So it's in flux, let's put it that way. But hopefully it does. But gosh, I'm not holding my breath, but hopefully it does. So,
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Everybody too.